What's going on, everybody? This is Uche Njoku, Sneaker Principal, and this evening we're going to have another Sneaker Principal takeover. So I'm giving up the show to a special guest. You know what? Let's just go ahead and cue this episode and get into it.
When they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not going to change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody going to clean.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.
All right, guys. So, hold up. Am I doing this wrong here? Hold up. What am I doing here? Guys, you know, this tech stuff is always a challenge for me sometimes. But I am, here we go. So this evening, I have a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and give his background story about how we met. And we're going to have a great conversation. But I'm going to shut my mouth, let him introduce himself. Go ahead, brother.
Right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Solomon Bazuaye Jr. I met this great mentor. Actually, I was following his content for a couple of years now. One day I was like, I just hit him up. I wanted him to kind of check out my resume as I was trying to move up into the educational ranks. I was a teacher leader. At the time, I was an MTSS coordinator. So he was kind enough to get on a Zoom with me, look over my resume, help me out. Now I'm an AP, and a big part of that is because of him. The whole time we stayed connected, he's given me advice, inspiration, motivation, really helped me kind of develop as a leader. And here we are today.
Listen, first of all, I got to tell you, I appreciate you because so the one thing about Brother Solomon that I really appreciate is the fact that he reached out. You know, that's one thing that I was taught very early in my career, that closed mouths don't get fed, and that's something I try to my best to instill in my staff, those that I work with. Like, we gotta speak up. Even my students, I tell them all the time. Like I said, if you don't speak up, nobody's gonna know. And the fact that he reached out and we had conversations, and I'm always worried when I talk to somebody that I might be too brutal. So he sent me a resume. I remember saying to him, "So, what have you done? Like, where's the numbers? What have you actually done? All I'm seeing here is just job descriptions."
No, that's putting it kindly. You ripped it apart.
But however, all I did was do what was done for me, you know. And I remember telling you that let data drive your resume. Share the numbers, you know. Let people know when they get you what they're really getting. And he did it. And how long after that did you secure a position? It wasn't that long.
Yeah, it was like 2 months.
Yeah, it was crazy. So he hit me. I was like, "Oh snap! Okay, good." So I guess the things I'm saying is not complete nonsense, but yeah. And now you are an assistant principal, and you're doing your thing. So how is that going? How is that going?
I love it. I eat, sleep, drink this work. Man, I love it. I love every bit of it. It's grueling, long days, but I love it. I love digging into the data. I love having those crucial conversations with teachers. Love making the connections with the students. And this is what I'm purposed to do. So
I love the fact that you use the word work. And I shared this with you previously that this is not a job, you know, because if you want a job, there's a lot of jobs out there that are probably better than this by far. Because it is grueling, it is stressful, it is all of the above. But if you're going to do this, it's work. And when we say work, I'm not talking about the expending of energy, but going back to the Bible, it says that it says, I'm going to use this for men and women. If you do not work, you should not eat. So what is your work? What is your life's work? What is your life's purpose? What's that thing that is the driver of who you are? And for me, it has been being an educator. I tell people all the time, like my role right now is principal, but what I do, I am an educator. I create pathways for young people to reach whatever life has intended for them. So I love the fact that you say work rather than job. So go ahead. Listen, I'm gonna stop talking because I can start talking. I want this to be all about you, your questions, whatever it is, and your insights. So please, do your thing.
All right. So like I said earlier, I followed your story. So I know you're a teacher, dean, assistant principal, principal. I want to know the transition from dean to assistant principal. What was that transition like?
That transition was one that I didn't quite see happening when I first became a dean. So just to make a long story short, I came into education in 2005, and my first job that I applied for was to be a self-contained special education teacher. I was a New York City teaching fellow. It's a 2-year program. You get your master's degree, and but you're doing it while you're teaching. So there's no student teaching. You just go through a summer boot camp, and they throw you into a school. Yep. And I had several interviews, and one school I interviewed at, a high school, Discovery High School here in the Bronx. Down in the Bronx. And the principal said, "Hey, you're hired, but how would you?" Pretty much, he was like, "How would you like to be my dean?" And I was like, "Dean?" First of all, I didn't know what a dean was because in California, where I grew up, we don't have deans. But I know what a dean in a college is. So I'm thinking like, okay, so I'm running a department. Like, why would I? I know nothing about this space. He said, "No, you're gonna be my dean of discipline." So I was like, okay, that's bizarre. But I reluctantly said yes. I was pushed by one of my professors in our boot camp, and she said, "Listen, if this man is he's first of all," she said, "I've never heard that before. Somebody being offered, they're not even in the school building yet, being offered that position. I've never heard that before, but clearly he saw something in you that you need to further explore." So I took the job. And I walked into Walton High School in the Bronx, and it was fun, but it was also crazy. I had never seen a school that had so many gangs in one building. I grew up in California, where you had a gang is one gang. California's really split up. Gangs are split up racially, so we had 2 gangs. We had primarily Mexican gangs and the black gangs. We had Bloods and we had MS-13. It was Inglewood 13. That was it. Here in this school, you had Bloods, Crips, Bloods and Crips in the same building. Latin Kings, Trinitarios, Patria, DDP, all these things went on in the building, and I was like, and my principal was like, "Yeah, we have a gang problem." I was like, "You think?" But however, the one thing that was to my benefit was the fact that I grew up in California. So I was never a gangbanger or anything like that, but I could say I was gang affiliated. A lot of my friends were in gangs. I played football. I'm gonna say like half the football team were either Bloods or blood affiliated in some capacity. So I understood the world. I understood the culture, and then what happened was the kids found out from California. So in their minds, they were like, "Oh, he's from California. He's from Inglewood. So he's a blood." So all these things, I took advantage of it. My knowledge of gangs from California, and used that as a way to kind of gain OG status with my students. Yeah. And we, in those 3 years, I was there for 2 years. In those 2 years, a lot of the incidents that were happening in the building, it was a lot of incidents, a lot of fights, a lot of just craziness. It got cut in half, literally. And fortunately, another principal that I met through a friend of mine in the same program, he was kind of like, "Listen, I need you to come to my school." And opportunity came for me to move to his school. I went to his school, and I was his dean for 1 year. And then he got promoted to become an executive principal. And this was a program that was created at that time for the purpose of taking strong principals and giving them schools that are failing and getting to that kind of turnaround work. So he got that position. He said, "Hey, I know you just got to this school, but I want you to come with me to this other school as my dean, and I'm bringing this another guy on the team to be my AP. The three of us are going to turn around. We're going to turn around this school that they want to close down. The school is supposed to be a 6 through 12. It's in its third year, so they have 6 through 8, and I'll be the third principal. And so literally, this school's has had a different principal since the school opened. So he's like, I'll be the third principal, and we'll be the third team. So we went. So I said, yeah. I said, hey, you gave me an opportunity. I'm gonna roll with you. I went over there as a dean, and then at the same time, he became a Con Fellow, which is it has a long name, the Con Fellow for Distinguished Principals. So what they do is they identify the top principals in New York City. He's one of them. But it's a one-year fellowship, and part of the fellowship is that he selects an ally, somebody he's going to mentor while he's going through the training. He picks me. So mind you, at this time, this is my 4th year in education. So here I am sitting with him at this fellowship at Columbia, and and they're asking me questions like, what do you think? I'm like, first of all, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, let's call it what it is. Bro, I'm just like, I'm still trying to figure out my life as an educator. And here I am at Teachers College, Columbia University, with these professors who wrote the books about it. Listen, the modern American education was birthed at Teachers College in New York City. So to sit there, and I'm thinking literally 4 years ago, I was like just trying to get a job. Yeah. Here I am at Teachers College, and sitting there, at the end of that fellowship, that was year 4, year 5, I was in the master's program at Teachers College. So that was my dean life. Like literally, all these different things were happening. And it was compounded, and I will mention his name, John Barnes. He was my principal. He was my mentor principal who took me with him to Teachers College, and which turned into me now being a graduate student at Teachers College. And then at the end of my 6th year as the dean, I got my license, and he made me assistant principal. So in 6 years into education, I became a principal. I became an assistant principal, and so that was my transition. Like it was kind of crazy because it just one of those. It was serendipitous. Like it shouldn't have happened that way, but it happened that way. But the other thing that was actually kind of cool was that at the moment, and so I'm sorry, that time I didn't think it was cool, but John did something at the moment. At that moment, I thought was crazy, and I won't lie. He and I got into a screaming match over it. But I was like overwhelmed. I was like, "What are you doing? You trying to like?" He put so much on my plate. I was the dean. I was his con ally. So we were writing papers. Like this is Columbia, so they were like making us write papers. I'm like, but I'm not even getting a degree out of this. This is just like a fellowship. So we had to do a paper, present all these academic stuff was happening there. But I was also the special education department chair of a school that was struggling, and they were trying to close down. So he was like, "Listen, you have that license. I need you to take this over." Then he was like, "You said that you majored in engineering, right?" I'm like, "No, I was an engineering major. I switched my major to film. I have a film degree." He's like, "But you did engineering, so you must be good at math." I'm like, "I'm okay. You're gonna run my math department too." I was like, "Okay, hold up. So you want me to do special ed math department?" He's like, "Yeah, throw science in there as well." So I ran 3 departments. I was the dean of the school. A school they wanted to close down. There was a lot of chaos with the kids. We're talking about the third principal in 3 years. And he did that to me, and I thought he was trying to like ruin me. But what he did was, he explained to me down the road was, I put you in a position to understand what the life of a principal is. Because you're going to be juggling so many things. And I was like, but first of all, who said I want to be a principal? He's like, nah, you are going to be a principal. Like he told me flat out, you're going to be a principal. You have everything it takes. And now I need to make sure that you understand what it feels like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. And so when I became an AP, luckily he had groomed me. But when I became an AP, the moment I went from dean to AP, the only thing that changed was my paycheck. That's the only thing that changed. It was nice. It was nice. It was nice. I was like, oh, snap, 6 figures. I like this. But the work was still the same. So what he did now as an AP, I could officially be a supervisor. I could officially have those tough conversations, even though I was unofficially having those conversations. You know, I can say it now. I wrote up a lot of observations, and he signed them for me. He signed them. He's like, I need you to understand how to write these. So we would do observations together, and he would have me write them up. And he would go over them. He would go, okay, no, change that. You missed something here. You missed that. You know, and then at that time I was thinking to myself, like, bro, you make me do the work for you. Nah, he was putting me through, man, a 2-year boot camp. And by the time, he was preparing me. By the time it was done and I was AP, I had the same office, same desk, and I realized I've been an AP for the past 3 years. I just wasn't getting paid for it. You know, so that was the one thing that was done, that transition. But then going into becoming a principal, you know, you've seen my episodes of my podcast about that. That became something completely different, you know, because now it took 3 attempts for me to become a principal, and I won't get into the details unless you ask any specific questions. But I can tell you this: the one thing I learned in that process was how important it is for you to not give up. Because what happened with me was I know I didn't fit the mold of what they wanted the principal to look like or sound like. I don't do jargons. Like, listen, I'm the worst in the world. When people start talking about all the acronyms in education, my thing is, what does that got to do with the cost of tea in China? Like, is it working? That's just my mentality. And the other thing too, I was also at a time I was like 350 pounds. You know, I was unhealthy, but a lot of that came from the job. I was doing so much, and I wasn't managing my health really well. So I was like, you could hear me breathe in silence. Like I was a big boy. So there's a lot of things that I realized that are also didn't work in my favor. Because people, let's be honest, human beings, we're cruel. We create these images of what we think people should look like in particular roles. So I went through all that. And then I also experienced situations where an opportunity came up and I was denied the opportunity because I was too good at my job. So where I had principals who didn't want to see me succeed because I walked into their schools and not intentionally, but I took over because again, I'd been groomed to be really good at the work, and they didn't like that. So I went through all that, and eventually, when I finally became a principal, it wasn't because I was the first choice, but the person they wanted didn't want the job. You know, but I'll tell you this: I didn't cry about it. I wasn't like, oh my God, like, you know, why me? And I was like, okay, listen, God, if this is the opportunity you put for me in front of me, I took it, and the rest has been history. You know, I thank Salika Dotel, who ended up becoming my AP, who's a principal right now, an amazing principal, for giving me the opportunity, because the superintendent didn't give me the opportunity. It was the person that she approached for the job who gave me the opportunity by saying, I'm not ready. He should be the principal. And they had no other choice. So I took it and ran with it.
I'm gonna come back to the principalship, but before I get there, I want to go back to the AP role. How long in the AP role, even though you felt, you know, you had been properly trained and you were kind of doing it 3 years before you officially got the position, how long were you in the role before it felt like this is comfortable? I get it. This is smooth.
No such thing. I don't think it ever becomes comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever becomes comfortable. I don't think it ever becomes smooth. I think what happens is the answers are easier to find. The solutions are easy to see. I could tell you there were many times as an AP where I was just like, what the heck is this? You know? But it hasn't changed as a principal. I remember the time I had a young lady who came to me who had a serious attendance problem, and she then admitted to me, which I was like, TMI, way too much information, but she had a at the time she had a STD that that was playing with her health. Her mom didn't know, and that's why she wasn't coming to school. And I was like, okay, first of all, I was shocked. I was like, okay, this is, I think she was a junior, so this is not the little girl. Like, this is, I'm like, okay, this is what am I supposed to do with this? I went to the social worker, who said, well, you've built so much trust with the students. It doesn't surprise me that she's willing to tell you before she tells her own mother. So her request was that would I be there and help her tell her mom?
Wow.
And I'm like, first of all, I'm a dude. Why am I like? But however, again, I was an AP at the time. It's one of those things where I'm like, you're going through your textbooks. I'm going to my textbooks and the PDFs and the files. Where is this at? And it's not there. So, and I've had students who've come to me and like literally admitted to me that they're moving so much weight in their neighborhoods, drugs wise, and they're about to drop out of school, and like, and I talked them out of it, and I talked them out of the life as well, and I've had situations where, again, another one where a student wanted me present while she told her mom she was pregnant. Like, it's all these spaces where it's just like, this is not part of the job, but it's also not part of the work, but it's also part of the work. Yeah. Because again, if you're in this work for young people, you have to also accept them how they come and all their problems and all their issues as well. So those are the things that there was no training for. The easy part is observations. That's easy. Why are you late today? That's easy. Yeah. Hey, it was brought to my attention, you yelled at this kid, that's corporal punishment. That's easy stuff. It's the other things that are hard, And again, I don't think there is, as soon as you think that things are just easy sailing, I don't even know what that looks like, man. Yeah. Like, I really don't. Because I look at my AP. My AP right now, he's been AP for 15 years. And we have conversations, and our conversation is not, yes, there is a power dynamic there. There's certain things that it falls on my plate. But as two black men in the profession, and he's been doing it for 15 years, there are times, just the school year alone, where I looked in his eyes, and he looked at me, he's like, whoa, what are we going to do? And you're like, yeah, this is something else we haven't seen. Like, this year alone, we've had 3 passings. We had a staff member pass away. We had a teaching artist in our building pass away, and we had one of our students who transferred to another school, but she was our student last year, that passed away. And all these things happen within a month. I want to say about 5 weeks. How do you handle that? You could say you could be doing this for 30 years, and that will break you. But listen, when I saw her mom, I cried. I sobbed. Yeah. Because I can only imagine what she's going through as a parent. So
how did you guys get through that?
As a community, I'll tell you this. I tell people this. I leaned on. I forced my community to lean on each other. Because my thing at the end of the day, we are professionals, but also human beings. So I made sure that we created space for us to talk and for them to tell me what they want. My school right now, I've only been there for, I guess, going on 10 months now. I started May 1st of 2023. So there's members of that community who've been there for many, many years. And my thing was for me to come in here and tell y'all how to feel and how to be. It's not, my job is to be a facilitator. So in each of those situations, I asked the community what they wanted. And how do you want this to happen? And my job was to advocate to make sure that all parties in the peripheral understood what my community needed. And again, that's something that there's no manual for that. There's no book written. There's no video you're going to watch. It's something you just got to figure out in that space. And sometimes you might be wrong. But yeah.
When you How long as an AP? How long were you in AP before you felt like, you know what? I think I'm ready to take the next step.
Um, I could say this. I knew. I don't think you ever know that. I don't think you ever really know like I'm ready for the next step. I don't think there's a moment that clicks or anything like that. I think it's funny because for the three times that I was denied, I wasn't. Only once was I pursuing the position. The first time I wasn't pursuing the position, the opportunity arose, and my principal was leaving New York City schools,
Hmm.
and I was next in line in that school. I was like, it's like the president, I'm vice president. He's leaving, so I'm next in line for the role, and and yeah, it was kind of surreal. Like, wait a minute, I'm going to be the principal. I'm going to be the one. It's all me. So you go through that. Maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm not ready. And then everybody's telling you, "Oh my God, it's going to be you already." Like, we love it. Parents saying, like, "I hope it's Mr. Njoku." Yes. Second time, the second opportunity arose. I applied for a program, and I was accepted, and I was told, and this is when I left New York to go to Nevada, and I was told, you've been accepted to be a principal in Nevada. I went there. It didn't work out. Then the next opportunity came up. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I just want to be in a good place. And it was the superintendent who came to me and said, "Hey, I have a school, and if this works out, you'll be the principal." I already got burnt twice before, so I was just kind of okay. Let's see what happens. And of course, I got burnt again. So I wasn't like when I found out it wasn't going to be me, I wasn't upset about it. I was kind of like, okay, it is what it is. So, but I'll tell you this: what's interesting when it finally did happen, I became principal. I remember the night before, the night before the first day of school. But once you've been told, okay, you're gonna be the principal and it's official, you got to write the letter to the community, introductions, and you do all those different things, and send the letter to the superintendent. She reads over it, she approves it, and you go through all those things, and you're like, okay, that's all the procedural things you go through. The question of whether or not I'm ready didn't really hit me until the first day of school. When those doors opened and you knew without a doubt in your mind, them kids are coming in, and now you're responsible for every single one of those children.
Yeah.
Like, you are, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
You know, the decisions, how they come into the building, how they transition from classroom to classroom, what happens in the classroom, the teachers, how they behave, the expectation you set, all those things. And then you realize there's so many moving parts. Just operationally, just running a regular school, there's so many moving parts. And that could be overwhelming. But then add on to you're a school leader in the hood. Like, and we're not
That's
talking
that's a
about
whole
like,
nother that's a whole nother
yo,
animal.
and you are in the hood,
Yeah.
across the street, down the bodega, down the block. The methadone clinic that's 2 blocks away. And then you start to realize those two families that are beefing, and their kids go to your school. Like, all those little things. But I think you never truly feel that you are like for me, that feeling of like, oh, I got this. I don't even know what happened. I just felt like one day it was just like second nature. But it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long. Like, let me ask that question. When did it hit you like, okay, I got this?
It hasn't. It hasn't. It's a daily. Some days I'm in a situation and I'm like, what are we doing? What is this? What is this? And then but you just figure out a way to get through it, and you use all those experiences that kind of put in your tool belt. So then when they come up again, you're ready to handle it. But I don't think I've ever felt like, yeah, I got this, or But I do feel you on the imposter syndrome, because my first day as the AP, people are coming in with questions, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know where the teacher's lounge is. Like,
But how did you handle it though?
you learn, you know. My favorite saying was, "I'm not sure right now, but I'll get back to you."
That's
You know,
simple. That's
you
it.
know, and then I make sure that I do follow up and get back to them, and I figure it out, and
Uh,
that builds
and
trust with
yeah,
people, because it lets
yeah.
them know that you're not too big to admit you don't know something, but you will follow up, and when you get the answer, you let them know. So
I always tell them, listen, if you get to the answer before me, just let me know.
yeah, let me
we're
know.
in this, yeah, we're in this together. But the thing, I mean, but I tell you, it's humor, and honesty, and being willing to say, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. I'll find out the answer. Because once you know, now you know that thing.
That's it.
You know, and
That's it.
and one thing I want you to remember, and this is why it's so hard to say when does it change, because as soon as you get comfortable with one thing, something will always come to supersede it.
Yeah,
And sometimes it could be the simplest things that you've done for years, and it's gonna be that one time you're gonna be like,
yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. This story's probably gonna get me in trouble, but I don't care. So so mind you, this is like my second school's principal, and years of doing report cards, years of doing report cards. Okay, and report cards, and my thing is very simple. Parents know what day is coming out, you know, and it's distributed, and parents expect it at home. And I had one year where I just thought I didn't have to say this. Like, we know this. I had a veteran team of assistant principals. Like, this is not a big deal. Like, this is what we do. And that day, this person decides to take the day off to do something. And I don't remember what it was, but my assumption is that they're going to hand it off to somebody else to get it done. It's on the calendar. So I didn't even think about it. That next day, it wasn't printed out. Nothing was done. I'm thinking, wait a minute. And it wasn't like the first report card. This was like the mid-year. So we already had this procedure. So I'm like, why? Like, what just happened here? And I just remember just being just dumbfounded. I was just like, what? Gum smacked. Like, what just happened here? Because now I have parents who are like, what's going on?
Right.
You know, and one of my biggest things is this: we always have to present our best foot forward with our families all the time.
Absolutely.
And it was just one time where I was just like, and it was an easy fix. But the thing was, it was so stressful to me because I was just like, how did we miss this?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if we're not careful, we miss that small thing. When the big things happen, oh, we're screwed. And that was the thing. So this is what I'm saying. Like, there's always going to be something that you don't see coming. Like, you're gonna be like, whoa, and you're gonna face it head on, and hopefully with minimal bruises. But don't ever think, oh, I got it next time. Just think about it this way. Like, I've been on my photography grind for the past couple of months. I go to the same park at least once a week, and I take the same picture at the same scene, and I know every picture is different. There's no day is the same. No light is the same. Something's always going to be different. No wave is the same. So if I tell myself I'm taking the same picture every single time, I'm lying to myself. I'm creating this assumption like it's all normalized. It's not. Every situation is going to be different. And that's the thing. So I would say to you, don't expect to get comfortable. Enjoy the ride of discomfort. And intellectualize it in a way where you understand that you're just getting better. You're getting better. And sometimes I welcome the new challenge. I'm like, oh snap, okay, I didn't see that coming. Like, how are we going to handle that? But the great thing about it now, I'm in a position now where I have a team. Sometimes things come to me now. I'm just like, I know what the answer is. I give to them to figure it out. But that's part of my coaching, my mentoring of them to figure out the answers.
I had a mentor that told me to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
But remember this, it's not. But I would say this, it's not about discomfort.
Yeah.
I'm a big UFC fan. I love boxing, MMA, and my thing is, like, I see these guys fight, and sometimes they're getting bloodied and getting beat up. At the end of the fight, what do? They hug each other.
Yeah.
They kiss each other, give each other pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what this work is like.
Yeah.
There are days where after some of the craziest things, you go home, you might pour yourself a drink, burn a cigar, and you're like, damn, that was crazy.
That was crazy.
But guess what? You got through that, and you're on to the next. And I think the only thing that the one thing that does get better is that you get smarter, and you get intellectually. You just get wiser. That's what it is. It's not being smart. You get wiser. Every experience puts you into a better place of wisdom, so you know how to handle things. And you also develop patience. If you do it the right way, you also develop patience. Because a lot of situations we see in what we do requires patience. But yeah, I don't think bro, as a principal, my third school, I'm never comfortable. There's always doubt. There's always imposter syndrome. It's always there. But my thing is, okay, you're here. What are we going to do?
Let's do it.
Because I still got 200 kids who need Mr. Njoku to be Mr. Njoku.
That's right.
I still got 200 parents, families that I promised them that your child is going to be here and your child is going to succeed. Yeah. And that's what I hold on to.
I love something you said about you give your APs, you know the answer, but you give it to them to figure out.
Yeah.
So I feel like I already know the answer, but do you feel as principal it's your job to develop your assistant principals to be ready to be principals one day?
Yes, definitely. And so like right now I have a school of about 200 kids. I have an assistant principal, and I have 2 academic deans, and my 2 academic deans are being groomed and being prepared for leadership to become assistant principal or even maybe principals. Then I have 2 others who are in the initial stages of figuring out their leadership styles. One is my testing coordinator. The other one is a social worker who has great instincts. And again, I'm looking at them and I'm asking myself, like, now, the same way that John Barnes poured into me and put me in a position to one day be where I'm at right now, I'm doing the same thing for them. And we can't complain about the lack of leadership. We can't complain about failing schools if we are in leadership and we're not going to do something about it. We keep asking for the system to find people. What is the system doing? What does the Department of Education do? What is the board doing? But my thing is, if you're in the game and you read about this work, and you've gone through the grind yourself to be who you are, you should have the instinct to identify people who are similar to you.
Yeah.
John Barnes is a 6'2" white man. He saw something in my 5'9", stout African, facade and said, "You're going to be a leader one day."
Yeah.
And when he said that, I didn't know what he was talking about. But he found his replacement in me, and I was the only one. But now I can look at him and say, wow, he has at least 6 principles that can say we're part of the bloodline, the intellectual bloodline of John Barnes, and I'm part of that. So now I'm building out my line, because if you're going to change the system, let's find the people who are about the work, and let's be subversive in that space. My favorite book is The Spook That Sat by the Door. And if you're familiar with it, if you're not familiar, find that book and read it. It's amazing because sometimes we can only change the system by working within the system and being very intentional about how we groom the next generation you know, and so that is my responsibility, and it's also my greatest source of pride. You know, when I go into a meeting, I see, the three who are all principals, and we look at each other. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Because I remember when you were English teacher, when you were like, nah, not me. When you were like, heck no. And here we are, all standing in here, suited and booted, and I'm sorry, black,
Yeah.
and the hotel is Dominican, and I'm like, yo, we got this,
We doing it.
and I know it's in their minds to do the same thing. They're constantly looking for that next person,
Yeah.
you know. So
That's dope.
so yeah,
That's my one of my mentor principals who actually got me into leadership when I left that school to get this promotion. He told me I'm part of his legacy. So
yes,
it's my responsibility now to do what he did for me for someone else. So
I agree 100%.
yeah, I love that.
I agree 100%. It's funny. John Barnes is a principal now in Long Island, and every time we talk, I always thank him. I'm like, thank you, because now I can see all the dots connecting, and how maybe it might have been fully intentional on your part, but when you hired me to be your dean, that snowball started rolling down that mountain,
Yeah.
you know. And now I walk into spaces and people are like, yo, you're the sneaker principal. Oh, yo, we read your this. We've seen. And I'm thinking like, man, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for this guy who said, hey, come work for me.
Yeah.
You know? So it is part of my legacy, and part of your legacy is to develop the next, not the next you, but your replacement.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that person might be in your building right now. You know, somebody you see, you're like, whoa, this person it's one thing I'm always asking people, like, listen, I always make it very clear to my staff, if you want responsibility, you want to be a teacher lead, let me know. If you have an idea, let me know. Let me know. You know, because sometimes we have the capacity for great leadership within our staff, but we're not looking for it. I want every teacher in my school to be a leader. There's one thing about leaders is when you start leading, you don't want to look bad. So all of a sudden you start doing extra. Like let me just pick up that trash, because this is my school, because I'm a leader in this school. That's when it's very important. But what happens is most schools are very top heavy. You have leadership and you have everybody else.
Yeah.
I hate when people say, well, but what admin said. And I was telling people, like, what do you mean admin? First of all, okay. Like, it doesn't work like this. We're all in this together, you know? And that's always been also part of my mission, to eliminate this whole teachers versus admin. Like, no, we're all Bro, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
It just so happens that my present role and title is principal. What's principal? The head. I'm the head teacher. That simple, you know?
That.
And assistant principal, all you do is you're the head assistant teacher. The assistant head teacher. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and once we see ourselves like that, things get better for the school as a whole. And yeah.
I love that. I love that. What advice would you give? Because in this work this year, it's been difficult, but I love every minute of it. What advice would you have for someone who's looking at that trajectory, like I want to be a principal one day, that's sitting in the APC?
My question is going to be why. Why do you want to be a principal? And the reason I asked that question is that I'm seeing it now more as the years are passing are passing in my role as a principal. The number of principals out there who are struggling, and I have a hard time understanding why they're struggling. You know, because I'm like, I have the same thing on my plate. I'm dealing with the same population of kids. I'm dealing with the same when it comes to teachers and all the issues there, but they're like struggling. They're like painfully struggling. And then I asked myself, why did you become a principal? And the fact that matters, some people become principals or even APs because of their want and need for the positional authority. It sounds good. It looks good. Because all of a sudden now I'm rocking my red bottoms. I'm rocking my Gucci tie, and all that. And they failed to realize that this work is better done in sneakers because you're gonna be moving.
Yeah.
This work, guess what? That tie might get you choked out. Okay, and I'm not even saying physically, but metaphorically, because you're so caught up in this, and then you're not understanding what's happening around you. So my thing is, when somebody says I want to be a principal, why? Somebody tells me, because I've always wanted to run a school, but why? Like, why would you? Like, honestly, in all reality, I'm sure you've had those moments where you've asked yourself, why did I do this to myself?
Last week.
And I'm telling you, I still have those moments myself where I'm just like, man, I should listen to my parents and been a doctor. Why did I change my major? My good Nigerian parents were trying to guide me. They were trying to guide me, but then I decided to do my own thing, and you have that. But when people ask me, why do you do what you do? Because I really believe this is what I was put on the earth for. This is my purpose.
Absolutely.
And when I'm walking down, this happened many times where I'm somewhere random, somewhere not even, and somebody says, Mr. Njoku? And I turn around and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they're like, you don't remember me? And I'm like, and they tell me 2007. I'm like, bro, you know how long ago that was? And they're like, it's funny, but I ran into a former student of mine. I was at happy hour. So I was meeting some staff from another school, and I walk in, this dude, 6'3", walks up to me. He's like, you don't remember me? I'm thinking like, is this a parent that I pissed off who now wants to take revenge? He's like, it's me, Nigel. I'm like, Nigel? Like, Nigel? And here he is. He's his early 30s. He's a teacher leader. He's like, yeah, I'm interviewed to be an AP. And I'm like, damn, I've been in this game that long. But I also remember sitting with Nigel in my detention as his dean.
Wow.
That's why I love this job. Because I remember my detentions were never, I didn't do everybody silent, do your work and be quiet. No, we had conversations. If we're going to sit here together for hours to 2 hours after school, I'm going to pour into you. And when I see these kids now and they're adults, when I hear, so-and-so started a not-for-profit, so-and-so started their own mental health clinic, so-and-so's in medical school now, and I'm like, whoa. This is like magic. Like, we're making magic here. We're inspiring children who become adults who maybe might help us figure out the nonsense that's happening on this planet.
Yeah.
For me, that's why I love what I do. Because I get to see the change. And once upon a time, it used to be like I got to see the change down the road. I think I've gotten so good at what I do, I see the change right now. Because now it's not just me trying to intellectualize things. I'm moving with wisdom. So when I talk to a young man and say, hey, you're brilliant. I look at your test scores. What's going on here? I just need to understand, like, why are you not living to your full potential? And the kid looks at me and says, nobody's ever said that to me before. And I say, but I want to answer. And the kid says, mister, I'm going to be the first person in my family to graduate from high school. That's a lot of stress. But this person who's telling me this he's in the 8th grade. Think about that. I'm going to be the first person to graduate in my family to graduate from high school. He's telling me this, and he's an 8th grader. I'm just like, whoa, that's wild. Yeah. You mean everybody in your family, nobody has a high school diploma? And you're still 4 years away from that. You're not even done with 8th grade yet.
Yeah.
And that's what she... But then that conversation ensued, got much deeper. And right now, this young man is rocking it right now. And not only that, he inspired me to create some programs at the school, understanding that a lot of our kids, they may be intellectually capable of doing the work. There's also a lot of like social emotional stuff happening that I was like, whoa, I didn't understand how deep it went. So that's why I love being a principal, because then all of a sudden I can be like, I'm going to create this program right now. Like, yeah. Right now. We're going to start sending our 8th graders to go visit high schools and meet with high schoolers who are going to speak life into their lives and say, hey, this is how I got from where you are to where I'm at right now. You know, listen, at my school, we actually do our high school tours. We don't do college tours.
I like that.
Why are we going? I'm like, why are we doing college tours for? You're in middle school.
Yeah.
I need you to know what high school feels like. Go talk to those kids who visit classrooms. I don't know too many principals in New York City who are doing it. I'm sure there's some. But so many people are like, oh, we send our kids to Harvard. We send our kids to go see NYU. Let me tell you something. When I was in 7th grade, what am I going to see at NYU is going to make me, this is going to inspire me.
Right.
But now you put me in a space with high school students who wanted to talk to me and say, hey, chill out, focus. But when I was your age, 2-3 years ago, this is what I didn't know. But again, as a principal, I get to do that. So I love what I do because I can make an impact immediately. A lot of people want the position, they want the job because it pays more. I mean, listen, in New York City, we just got this new fat contract. You walk into a principalship, you're walking in making like as 150 come as a first year principal around thereabouts. Or maybe not, like 160. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Once this normalizes, most principals in New York City are going to be making over $200,000 a year. I mean, New York City is expensive as heck, but in a 2-family income, that's good money. People are looking at that and not understanding that don't let the money fool you. Because as quickly as you walk in, a lot that comes with it. If you're not careful, you can be removed like that. Yeah. You know, so that's the thing. Like, you know, like you need to make sure you know why you want to do this, and understand like this is also a sacrifice. It's a deep sacrifice. You know, bro, it's a deep sacrifice. Couple years ago, I had a young man who was murdered when I was a principal in Brooklyn. And if there was a moment, like when I say a moment that broke me, was that. Like, just to be like, wait a minute, he just was standing outside and got shot in the head. Like, what are we talking about here? Then you come into the building, everybody's broken apart. Kids are crying, teachers are crying, everybody's crying. And then I have to be the leader in this space, you know, and guess what I'm doing? I'm crying with them. Yeah. You know, just trying to make sense of the world. You know, those are the parts of the job that they don't tell you about. You know, a principal, I don't know her personally, but this same school year lost a first grader to asthma attack. You know, so like think about that. Like it's like, you know, you go to funerals. Like in the past, like I've been one of my former students who's an adult now committed suicide 2 years ago. So going to that funeral, you know, and literally there was no way in the world that I was not going to be there. But you walk in and you see all your former students who are now adults in their mid to late 20s, and you see this student here who is the best of all of us in his coffin, and mom's there crying, and mom still sees me as his principal, and he's telling the family, that's Mr. Njoku. That was his principal. That's not. It's not about like it goes so far beyond that. Yeah. And so yeah. So if you want to do this work, don't do it for the money. Don't do it for the position. Don't do it because you need to be the boss. I'm telling you, if you do it for those reasons, you're gonna fail. Yeah. You're gonna fail miserably. I'm gonna tell you right now. But if you're doing it because you see things that need to be done that you believe that only you could do, all right, let's talk. Let's talk because again, and I'll tell you right now, in my career, the best principals I've ever met, no two are alike. No two are alike. Some of them were suited up from head to toe. Others were like sweatsuits and sneakers every day. I'm in between both. Yeah. I'll rock my suit and my sneakers, but but even the way they approached the work was different. That's the thing. It's a hell of a work. It's the most amazing, but at the same time, it will beat you up. Yeah. If you're allowed to. And if you're not ready, if you walk into it for all the wrong reasons.
I got one more question for you.
Of course.
But before I get to it, I want to tell you that I greatly appreciate you. And I don't know if you truly understand the impact that you have, but you are inspiring a lot of people. And for me personally, seeing another Nigerian brother who's a principal inspires me, because now I see it in the flesh that I'm able to do it because I have firsthand experience with someone who's doing it. So your inspiration and motivation, and I greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And thank you so much for that. And I'm going to tell you something. There's no doubt in my mind that you are, first of all, you're not an assistant principal. That's your title in your present role. You are a leader. You're a leader. It's that simple. And what's going to happen is this: you will lead your own school community. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. What is this question of when, and even more so, your willingness to be fearless. You gotta be fearless. You have to accept that what you do might not be liked by a lot of people. Your approach might rub some people the wrong way, but the most important thing is this: you are humble. Okay, let me take that back. Not humble. Don't be humble. Be kind. Be respectful of people. But have the highs of expectations, because those high expectations, when they're met, is what's going to get people looking at you like, whoa, he did that. Yeah. Okay. Be kind, because people, I think, was it Maya Angelou who said this? People always remember how you made them feel. Yeah. Now, it's not even about what you did, it's how you made them feel in those spaces. And I'm telling you right now, like, I have no doubt in my mind that I'm speaking to a superintendent, or even higher, like, seriously, and that's how I move. In my mind, I'm like thinking to myself, like, why not? Why not? So I appreciate you, brother, and I look forward to seeing great things from you.
I appreciate you. So how does Mr. Njoku, sneaker principal, your work-life balance, what do you do to find your peace at the end of the day?
So I'm going to give you a very unpopular answer. No, like seriously, a very unpopular answer, because I think when you have a job, you need work-life balance. Mm. But the job itself has a purpose, and that purpose is to sustain and to put money in your pocket. It's that simple. That's simple. You have no skin. When you have a job, you have no skin in the game. Like, I'm going to go and do what I got to do. 5 o'clock, I'm out, punch out. But when it's your life's work, it is what it is. And and I've been told many times. It's funny today. Today I got a text message. I hope you rested well. And my response was like, we've been off this past week for midwinter recess, and my response was, man, like, rest. Like, there's so much to do. I'm over here like itching. Like, I'm thinking like this has to be done, that has to be done, and all these different things, because like for me it's like, so like even today I went in and I was like, like, I'm walking down the hallway, the building's empty, because this is what I do. It's like telling Tiger Woods, like, what is your, I'm not trying to say I'm Tiger Woods, but what is your work-life balance? What would you expect to hear from him? Like, I try not to play as much golf. This is my life.
Yeah.
This is my life. If a man does not work, he should not eat. Life, But again, it shouldn't be to the point you neglect everything else. But however, I think very few of us are lucky enough to find that thing that you just like, this is what I do, Like, it's funny. Like, I played football in high school and college. I've done all these different things. This is the one thing that I can say that without a doubt in my mind, I was built for this.
Yeah.
Like, when God created me, He was like, I'm gonna put you in charge of my sheep, and it's gonna be these children, but not just the children, the other adults, the other people, my sheep who are also responsible for these children. So I take care of the adults. I take care of, I make the resource officers feel good, the cafeteria ladies, my custodian. My job is to make sure that they're good, because if they're good, my kids are good.
That's right.
But not only that, my own children, my son and daughter, I work harder at my job. I say my job. I work harder at my work, because now the new standard is this: is this good enough for my babies?
Yeah.
That's my new standard, because I cannot be a hypocrite and be like, my children go to this school if the school that I'm leading is not just as good or creeping towards being just as good.
Yeah. I like that.
Think about how many educators whose kids go to private schools. Think about that.
That's a good point.
No, how many of them make sure the kids go to a charter school? And there's nothing wrong with that. My daughter just got into one of the best schools in the country. Not just in New York. She just got into one of the best schools in the country, which I'm still like dumbfounded about. And this is kindergarten. This is for kindergarten. And she's gonna be there for the next 14 years, God willing. But when I went on the school tour, I'm walking around this school. This is a school that's tuition is $65,000 a year. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. She's covered.
Amen.
I walked through the school, and I'm like, man, we could do this. What they do in that classroom? We could do that too. I'm taking notes. I went back to my stuff. I was like, listen, I was at that school. Let me tell you what I saw. And they were like, man, we could do that too. So for me, that's the whole notion of work. And I went through that phase where I thought I didn't have work-life balance, and it messed me up, because I started to pull back from the thing that I loved, because I was thinking to myself like, this is not healthy. But everybody was telling me this is not healthy. You spend too much time at work, or you're doing this, you're doing that. But the end product tells me that no, I did it the right way.
Yeah.
When I see those students who are now adults and they tell me, man, you changed my life when we had that conversation. I was like, when? They're like, that day after school, You know, remember I walked out with you. It was like 9 o'clock, and we were talking. I'm like, yeah. Some people might say walking out of the school but at 9 o'clock at night is not good work-life balance. But however, that young man who now owns his own business, who's doing way better than me, you know what? I would do that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would do that again. You know, and yeah. But again, you gotta find your own way. You know, though you gotta find your own way. But for me, I'm 47 now, and I'm just like, I wouldn't change it. Like, no, this is what I do. Yes, I have young babies right now, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure that daddy's always present. But it's funny. There was a sermon that I saw from T.D. Jakes where he was talking about where there's a little clip from a sermon where he talks about, you know, if a man is always at the house, what is he really doing? And it's funny because, I mean, we're Nigerian. You know, Pops is always, he's out there grinding. You know, and some people might say, oh, you know, that's not a good father. He's not, you know what? 5 kids he had, all college educated. I'm a principal. My sister's about to be assistant principal. She's applying to be, you know, my brother is rocking his jewelry business, and he's a teacher as well. My other sister owns her own psych clinic. My other sister's about to be an RN, and I'm like, those things happen because somebody was grinding.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, it's like, you know, I'd rather if balance means that I'm not able to be my full self, that I want balance. Because I want my son and daughter to see, Daddy did that work so good and left a legacy. So now we gotta do the same thing. You know, my mother always said this: our responsibility. She used to say, your responsibility is to do better than me. And I take that seriously, because my mother, born during the Biafra War and surviving that to come to America and had us. And when we came here, we had to live in the projects, and we were going through it. And now everybody's good. So what do we need to do for our kids? Because I want my kids to do better than me. So I said that whole work-life balance, I put it to the side, and I just said, listen, my job is to make sure that they're balanced. It's not about work-life balance. It's about that they balance. They have everything they need so they can grind forward and move forward. You know. So.
I love that.
Yes, sir. So, in closing, you have to answer the same question for me. What is your philosophy on that whole question of work-life balance?
You can ask my wife. I'm the same way. The same way. When I'm at, like, the thing is, I know. You know, I have a 2-year-old, so I try to make sure that I spend as much time as I can. But when I'm at work, I'm about to work. And sometimes they're going to be late days sometimes. Sometimes I'll be able to get home a little earlier. But thankfully, I'm married to someone who understands. And we've had this conversation. This is what the Lord put me on this earth to do.
Amen.
And this is my purpose. And I have to walk in my purpose because that's what I'm here for. So
it's funny. I'm thinking about. I'm going to go back to the Bible. I always thought it's interesting that in the New Testament that in the beginning you heard about Mary. You know, she gave birth, and the struggles and Egypt and everything, the manger and all that. Then all of a sudden, you don't hear about her. It's just Jesus doing this thing, building his disciples and going healing people. Then you see her again, and he had to check her. Like, woman, I remember reading that, like, oh, that is Mama. Why you talking to Mama like that? You know, because it's funny because, you know, you have to kind of make assumptions of what the conversation is really about. And I wonder, maybe she was like, son, you haven't been to the house in a while. What's good? He's like, lady, I'm doing my Lord's, I'm doing His work. What are you talking about? And And all jokes aside, again, you don't see her again until the cross. So I'm like, what was his work-life balance?
Yeah.
Because we only have but so much time on this planet.
Yep.
And the next second is not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
So my job and responsibility is to make sure that I'm going to do my best to make sure my kids have at least something they can say Daddy did for us to make sure that we're good. And maybe they might find that work balance. Maybe not. Maybe it might be the next generation. But for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm not even supposed to be here. I was born on a dirt road in Kaduna, in northern Nigeria. You know, I was born on Uche Road in Zaria. I'm not supposed to be here, you know, by all logic. But here I am in New York City. I'm a New York City principal, and I walk into rooms and people are like, "That's Uche," and I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy." But it's because I work my work. This is my work, you know, and God willing, bro. Listen, I can't wait. I'm expecting you to hire me one day. You know what I'm saying? I'll be like, you know, Secretary of State, Solomon. Listen, I'll be your deputy in charge of just lace you with fly sneakers. Let's do this.
By God's grace.
Amen. Amen. Nah, but listen, you're just embrace this fully. Have fun with it. Have fun with it, and laugh more. And even after, I'm telling you, even after the worst of days, just know it's just setting you up for greater successes.
Yeah.
You know, I would not, my journey has not been smooth, and I wouldn't have this any other way. I would not have this any other way, because now I'm just like, man, I actually have fun. Yeah. I'm actually having fun. And there are days that are just like stress. Like, I'm just like, yo, but let me tell you how great it is right now. I have such an amazing staff right now. They will come and say, Njoku, just go in your office. Go sit down. you look kind of stressed right now. And I'm like, wow. Like, wow. Those who come in my office say, how you doing? You just noticed earlier, like your tone, like, you good? And I'm like, this is cool. That people they walk in my office, sit at the conference table. Like, yo, can we have our lunch in here? We need to talk to you. I'm just like, this is dope. Like, I've created a community.
That's dope.
You know, one thing I always say, I never want to have my staff be afraid of me. Like, we've all had that principle. You just be like, oh, here he come.
Yeah,
Here she comes. Put stuff away. You know.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah. Like, nah. Like, we're not doing that. Yeah. And if I have to have a serious conversation with you, we're gonna have that serious conversation. But by the time we're done with this, we're both gonna know where we stand. No ambiguity, none of that stuff, you know. And that's the goal. And I'll say this in closing, that's your mission. Create an environment where your team knows what the focus, what the mission is, and what are we working towards. And we had this conversation, I think, earlier this year, the school year. What is the end goal for this school year? And that should be it every single year. And everything you do should be around that. And then you create a team. Have everybody be like, yo, where are we at? Once you can figure that out, how to create that, listen, your principal's going to love you, and your team is going to ride for you. You're the most important person in that building. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not the principal. It's the APs. It's the academic deans. It's those, because the principal has so much on their plate they have to worry about. Your job is to make your principal's life easy by locking everything down. But don't be a tyrant. And I already know that's not your personality type, but don't be a tyrant. The most important thing is get people to ride with that vision and that mission, in a way where they're excited about it. You know, and that's the work, man.
I appreciate you, brother.
Same here, man. Same here. And bro, I'm here. Anytime listen, use me, call me, anything that pops up, you know.
Yeah,
if I don't have the answer, trust me. I know. Listen, if I don't have the answer, trust me. I know somebody who does. You know, I know somebody who does. So No doubt, man. All right. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I actually enjoyed this because I feel like often it's been a long time since I had a chance to actually have a conversation like this. And those of you who watch this or have been listening to clips of it, I'm going to post this on the podcast as well, on Apple. You know, just remember, one of the things as leaders, as aspiring leaders, that we forget to do is talk. So often we're in our own heads and we're trying to figure stuff out on our own, and we're not willing to reach out and talk to somebody. And it might be a colleague. It might. Listen. I told one of my principal friends who was kind of struggling. Ask your superintendent, can we go out to lunch? And they were like, oh my God, no, that's too much. And I'm like, but we need to talk more. And I'm hoping that this inspires people to talk some more and really engage in that way. But outside of that, I want to thank you all for listening. I appreciate all of you. And of course, till next time. All right, be well.